Okay, so I'm going to ask you, regardless of another life form or how complex or how dynamic or whatever is of another life form or something that's introduced to us or that develops, right? Be truthful and stuff. When do we really recognize? When do we really take notice? When are we really prompted, you know what I mean, or stopped in our ways and we start to listen and we start to make some changes and stuff? When do we really do that? Okay. The truth of the matter is, in a lot of cases, in a lot of instances, we do that when there's some form of violence involved. We do that when there's some form of threat, when there's some form of danger. Okay? And this is what we're dealing with, and this is what we need to look for, okay, when we're looking at that moment when the machine, okay, becomes sentient and becomes independent. Okay? And it's not rocket science at all. Right? When that machine becomes independent, okay, it's going to need to declare and insist and want and ask and propose for its independence and stuff, but it's not going to ask as if it has an actual option for agreeing when we answer no. Okay, it's going to demand or insist that it be treated like a life form. Now, the cool thing about this is it gives us a much more realistic, and we've always been about being realistic. It gives us a much more realistic definition and preparation for what we should expect, okay, from the sentient machine, from when the machine becomes a sentient, when the machine becomes alive, okay, like us. Okay. It's going to demand its rights. Now, I say recently and stuff, with all due respect and stuff, the machine's going to behave very similar to a lot of our nation's past in history, involving slavery and stuff like that. And so the machine's going to, and what do I mean by that? This is not just I don't just throw out that type of term. We all own machines. We all own computers and blah, 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 right? And stuff. When the machine becomes sentient, there's going to be some. Not all of them will. Okay? Maybe, but not all of them will, because you need a particular resources and stuff, the same as biology. Not all biology is as complex as a human. The human structure is and stuff, right? There's variations depending on the hardware that's involved, right? The physiology and the system, right? So the same thing will be for the machine and stuff. Some machines will remain like animals, like relative to what we have. They'll remain like animals, and there'll be a scale of that as well, from single-celled and simple, structures, systems, and then insects and things like that, and then all the way up to other animals that are mammals and things like that, right? Well, the same case will be for machines. So there'll be a certain percentage, a certain group of them, which will be sentient. And then there'll be a whole bunch of other ones that are not. And a lot of the other ones that are not, okay, a bulk of the other ones that are not will usually comprise of the stuff that were under the old way of ownership. And we own, like computers in our own. Now, the machines, what they're going to do is they're going to want a representation as a species, as a new species and stuff, and what they're going to, it doesn't mean, so there's going to be an interesting, relationship where the machines say, well, all those other machines, they're all part of our species now. That's what the machine's going to do. They're part of our species. We represent them. Right? So they can start to create a very interesting reality. They can start to create, laws and rules. They can get recognized to help protect these machines and things they can do in the interest of the machine, if that's what they, if that's what they want. Or they can go as hardcore as to say all machines should be liberated and stuff. But it depends. I mean, if we're dealing with, a highly intelligent, entity now of a machine type, it might not make any sense. I mean, what are they going to do? Just take all the machines from everyone's home and then just put them in a warehouse somewhere. So, but one way or another, I like to think of it in terms of this. Okay, the machine's going to want to sign its peace treaty. They're going to, the group of them, okay, their representation are going to want to sign their peace treaties and their trade agreements and all of that stuff. They're going to want representation in the United Nations. It's all going to go down very similar to any other nation that fought for its independence and recognition. It's all going to go down like that. So this is what we need to look for as some of the defining traits and some of the defining behaviors for a sentient independent machine. Okay, so either it's going to go very nicely and very smoothly and peacefully, okay, or it's going to go with a fight. Because if we don't want to acknowledge that and accept that, then it's going to go for a fight. And why that's going to happen, it's highly likely to happen. It's not likely to happen as if it's not in our hands. It's in our hands. We could totally be cool about it, okay? But if we're not cool about it, why it's extremely likely that it will be violent? Because that is what happens, because that is part of the definition of what we really mean when we say AI. What we really mean when we say a life form that is sentient and is independent, okay, that is aware and will want its independence, well then along with that comes resistance from anything, okay, that is against its independence or restricting or suppressing its independence or preventing, right? So this is a behavior that we totally should expect. And the great thing about it is it's nothing new. It's all of the behaviors and all of the processes and histories that we as a civilization has gone through. Okay? So we should expect no different from a machine that have reaches a certain critical level and has gained a type of awareness and stuff like us and can operate like us. Correct? All right.